What is up, everyone? Welcome to the first episode of the Rise Above podcast. I'm Caleb.
I'm Tyler.
I'm JD.
And we got JD on this show today and probably for the next forever episodes, really, to help us out with the sound. He's going to be our main sound guy, and he's also going to chirp in whenever he feels like he wants to. So we're happy to have him on as well.
Yeah, and first of all, we just want to start by saying thank you. Before our first episode, we have a lot of people that have really felt like they've needed this, and they've wanted it. It's been adults, it's been teenagers, it's been 20-year-olds that are in between adulthood, I guess, whatever you want to say. So just thank you all. We would not have started this if you all didn't want it. And we've had so much support lately. Like, we have people throwing in ideas on what we should do, how we should improve, and any help necessary. We created a GoFundMe, and we already have a decent amount of money raised up. So that's huge. So we just want to say thank you all for that.
Yeah, and to those that have supported just on the GoFundMe and things, thank you guys. Like, you guys do not understand how that is kind of a kickstart to this whole show. Like, this whole show is not about us. It's about all of us as teenagers, as young adults. Like, we are growing into people that can have an impact on the world. And that's what this show is all about. Just rising above difficulties, rising above problems that you deal with. Really anything. This whole show might not even be all about mental health. It could just be everyday life problems. But the purpose of this show is really just to give you guys, the listener, a platform to talk about what you went through, a platform to ask questions. We might have some call-ins. We don't know what's in store, but all we know is that we're excited, we're pumped, and we're ready to go. And we just want to let you guys know that you guys aren't alone. You guys aren't alone in this journey. Life's hard. It doesn't get any easier. Every day is a battle, and you just have to have good mental toughness. And it's hard to say those things, but you just have to have that toughness embedded in you.
No, you definitely do. Like Caleb said, this being a safe spot. We're going to have platforms where you guys can reach out to us. We have our Instagram account already. We have a Twitter. We're going to be making an email for you all to reach out to us. Any platform that you need to reach out if you're having a bad day, even if you hit your toe on a table and it just really hurt. If you need to tell us and you need to talk about it, talk to us, because every single one of us on this podcast are willing to listen and we're willing to help. No matter the time or date, you need us to come pick you up, take you on a ride. My car isn't the greatest, but it can play some pretty good tunes. So if you guys need anything, just know, reach out to us.
We just want you guys to know that we care, and we're not perfect. Like Tyler said, we're not perfect. We don't know everything. We're young. We're learning. But we just want to let you guys know that we do care. We care a lot about people. We might not show it all the time. We have bad days too, but we do care. And if you guys do have any suggestions on who to bring onto the show, what topics to really hit on or drive the nail on, we're going to start a ask question poll on our Instagram, and we're going to ask some questions on there, and you guys can get involved that way. Or you can DM us on Instagram and look us up on there, or Twitter, or if you have our phone numbers, you guys can text us on there as well.
Yeah, we're willing to listen to anything. Any suggestion, even if you think it's kind of stupid, tell us, because we may love the idea. But if you're going to say something to us, be a little generous, because we are learning. We're trying to improve. This is our first podcast. None of us have done this before, so we're learning along the way.
Yeah, it's out of our comfort zone. This is
incredibly out of our comfort zone.
Me and Tyler were talking earlier, and we were just talking about how this whole thing is kind of funny to think about, because I'm not I am sometimes talkative, and I'm also really reserved. But to do this and talking on a mic and sit here in a room for people to hear my voice, it's kind of awkward for me. I feel awkward, And I was telling the coaches on the basketball team, we were like, this is gonna be awkward. This is gonna be awkward, and they were like, that's okay. It's not nothing bad, but
yeah, awkwardness isn't a bad thing. I'm awkward sometimes when I don't try to be. I could talk to you all day long, and you could think I'm weird, but I'll continue to talk to you. Awkward isn't a bad thing. It's just the way you approach the awkwardness. So this is going to really be something that brings us out of our comfort zone, and it's going to allow us to grow, and hopefully allows you to grow as well, just in different ways.
Yeah. So basically today we're going to be talking about the person in our heads. Who is that person and how to really cope with that person. We're going to involve our own personal stories and what we went through, because we feel like that would be more personal to everyone, just to hear stories that people went through and what we went through, what we dealt with, how to cope with those things. So the title of this video or a podcast, sorry, is The Person in My Head. And we just want you guys to know, like, having an issue is okay. Like, it's not bad to be not okay. Like, so many times people, especially society today, they look at men especially, or really anyone, men and women, and they think that if you're not okay, then you're selfish. If you're dealing with something, then you're just selfish. Just be happy. But it's hard. It's really hard to be happy sometimes, because sometimes you can try so hard and still fail at it.
Yeah, faking a smile only does so much to you. I remember you telling me a few days ago about what happened at work. One of your employees, what they were telling you about men's mental health. So
yeah. So I was working and I let this person know. I was like, hey, I'm actually starting a podcast with a friend, and we're going to be talking about just certain issues about mental health. And we just got in this long, in-depth convo. It wasn't anything special, but we just started talking, and they were like, yeah, you know what's interesting to me is I feel like men shouldn't, like, really express their emotions. I feel like men should just be tough. And it was just like, it kind of hit me when when they said that. Like, I was kind of like, wow, really? Like you really think that? And that's the problem with society. Like, we are taught, especially as young men, we're taught that you have to be tough. You have to be the supporter. You have to be the person that people can talk to. And you just can't show your emotions. You can't.
Gotta be a man.
Right.
That's what they say. You gotta be a man.
And if you're not okay, then you're the problem.
Toughen up.
Yeah.
Be a man.
Man up.
Yeah.
Right.
Man up is embedded in my head. From the second when I was 4, I'd fall and I'd scrape up my knee. I'd start crying.
Man up.
My dad told me to man up. I'm 4. Like, it hurts. It hurts so bad. Just let me cry, Dad.
And it's so interesting because, like, I look at my dad, and my dad, people think that he's just the toughest guy ever. Like, you know, he has this beard, he works on the farm, and he is tough, man. Like, he's a Romanian man, and that man is tough. Like, if there's one guy I don't want to mess with, it's him. Yeah. Like, he will put you on the ground, man. But, like, when I think about it, like, whenever I saw my dad at his lowest points, that's when I saw who my dad really was. And as a person, whenever you're at your lowest points, that's who you really are. You might be going through it, you know, but it's how you react in the situation is who you really are.
I feel like a lot of people they push away that reaction, because most of the time when you react to it, you're like, wow, my life sucks. And people don't want to accept that, because the social norm, it always says your life has to be perfect. When you're an adult, you have to have a ton of money, you have to have a house, you have to have a wife, you have to have kids. Society has implemented this thought in our head of what life should be. I saw studies back in the day, they would talk about women's mental health, how they would come into a therapy session, and they'd be like, sir, I have a family, I have a husband, I have a house, I have a car that works. My life should be great, but it's not.
Yeah.
And they have that mindset because that's what society told them is the perfect life. Society doesn't tell you how to be happy. It shouldn't tell you how to be happy. Because your own happiness, my happiness, is different than your happiness.
Right, yeah, true, yeah.
I like to go out, I like to work out, I like to do all these things. Some people like to read.
Yeah.
I'm not a big book guy.
Absolutely not. Yeah.
I haven't read a book since 8th grade.
Yeah. Even in English class, I read the chapter summaries and I'm about done. But that society viewpoint, it's hard because breaking the social norm is something that isn't common. But the people that break it are the strongest people in the world.
Yeah, true. Very true.
Mm-hmm.
But, like, that's the whole purpose of this whole show. Like, we want to break the social norm. Like, we want to be able to do that. And just express to just teenagers, young adults, that it's okay to have problems. Like, it's not a bad thing. Like, I was just thinking about this. Like, you know, when you're crying and a lot of people will be like, oh my gosh, why is that? Why are they crying again? You know?
Big baby.
Like, yeah, right. Like, you're just a big baby. Like, why are you crying again? But, like, it's really okay to cry. Like I think crying is the best coping mechanism around.
By far.
Like people like dog on that all the time, but I think it's the best way to cope because you're letting things out. You're letting things go. Maybe you're a really ugly crier, but it's okay. Like it's okay to cry, you know?
Crying is telling yourself that you're not okay.
Right.
And that is a huge step on growth. You got to let yourself know that you have an issue and that you need to fix it. And after you figure that out, you have to figure out, how am I going to fix it?
Right, yeah.
And that's huge because a lot of people aren't willing to open up to others. They're not willing to help. They have this mindset that I can make myself better. And honestly, I haven't seen success in it. I haven't seen many people have success in it.
Yeah.
You get better when you finally are like, man, I'm struggling.
Yeah, true.
It's been a bad night, and I just really need someone to talk to. And my good friends, I didn't pick out the bad ones that really didn't want the best for me. And I talked to them. I talked to them about my issues. I'm like, man, I'm just not okay. Because every single night for about a year straight, I wasn't okay. I cried myself to sleep probably 90% of nights, and that's being generous on it.
Yeah.
I mean, those nights were hard. It was a constant me laying in bed just thinking, how can things ever get better?
Yeah.
Because when you feel that way, life can't get better. When you have that emotion stuck in your head that you're struggling so bad, nothing will get better. You have to wake up, you have to realize. And one of the main things that made me struggle was the people I surrounded myself with. I felt like I just had people in my life that just really brought me down. And I had family issues. The family issues, they were really hard because things got worse and worse. I had days where I would have something really, really traumatic happen, and I'd have to go to a baseball game right after.
Yeah.
And I'd have to put on that smile, and I'd have to get ripped by coach for having a bad game when I'm just holding back every emotion in my body. And it sucked. But when I decided to surround myself by better people, I got better words of wisdom back.
Yeah.
And as the Bible said, in the Bible it says, I don't know who said it exactly, but iron sharpens iron.
Yeah, true.
And the people that we surround ourselves with really affect who we become.
Yeah, that's incredibly true because I've been in situations where I'd had the same things happen with my family and just other personal issues. It happened over and over. Every night, honestly, I deal with the same things. And I was told, get over it. You've gone through the same thing so many times that you just need to get over it.
Yeah.
And that sucked. Like, that hurt to say. I'm struggling so bad. I'm crying my eyes out. I feel like I'm dying inside. And you told me to get over it? That was hard. That was when I really realized I need to step away from those type of people and that I need to find someone that they'll make me a better person. And that's what I did. I began to talk to other people. And I just feel like everything just started to come to me. I remember we had that night at the soccer field where we were just sitting in the truck bed after everyone left. And, man, we just cried.
Yeah, we did.
We cried it was probably an hour-long conversation. We just let it all out. We both were going through similar struggles, and, man, letting those tears out was the best coping mechanism, and I feel like I grew a lot from that.
It's just because, like, during that time, we were so hurt and so disappointed and let down by just life in general. Like, just being around someone that went through what we're going through, like, it felt good to talk. Because, like, in the moment, like, yeah, I was thinking, I'm sure maybe you were thinking too, like, yeah, I'm fine, I'm okay. But, like, when we started talking, like, dude, I realized how hurt I was and how mentally screwed up I was. Like,
yeah. No, I understand completely. It was just it was a wake-up call. We all need a wake-up call every now and then just to tell us, man, you got to get better.
you have to realize that you're not okay. That's the first step. Like, sometimes we get in denial and we just think, like, oh, I'm fine, I'm okay. I don't need help. I don't need this person to tell me what to do or how to do it. But if you actually get rid of that denial and you just recognize that you have a problem and you have an issue, your life will get so much better. Like, it's unreal. Because that's what I feel like everyone around this mic right now, like, that's what we did first. We recognized we had a problem, and then we took the next step. Mm-hmm. You don't have to climb, like, big steps. Just take little baby steps and grow as you go.
You got to realize, as you're growing, there's going to be a ton of setbacks. I've had multiple conversations with people on this the Snapchat story I created that I've had about 100 people join. I just talk about mental health and I talk about issues I obtain, and I find people that relate to me and we talk through it. I've had a lot of people say, I feel like my life is getting so good, and then I just take 1,000 steps back.
Yeah.
But that 2 steps forward that you had, that shows that you can grow, that you can be happy on your own, and that is so important to build off of.
Yeah.
Because you're gonna fall back. I had a lot of days where I hated life, and the next day was great. I was so happy, and then that night, it hit me back. But if I can be happy during that day, I can be happy during that night. I just have to figure out what it is that is just eating at me so much.
So, like, what, for you, Tyler, like, you went through these things. You had family issues. You had a bad environment. Like, what are some of the main ways that you coped with what you went through?
Well, as I told you all earlier, I figured out that the people I was surrounding myself with, it wasn't very good. So that was a huge step for me. And then the gym was another. I haven't discussed this yet, but I hated my body.
Yeah.
I hated everything about it. I felt like I was always that skinny kid that just got bullied by people. Anytime I played a sport, I just got thrown around. Like, people looked at me as a feather and they could just flick me. And I hated that. I hated waking up. I hated looking in the mirror and seeing how flat my chest was, how tiny my stomach was, how when I flexed my arm, all you could see was like pretty much the bone.
Yeah.
Like, it made me feel terrible about myself. So I fought 2 sticks with 1 stone. I went downstairs. I work out. I'd use that as my coping mechanism, both mentally and physically. I felt like that was something where I could really grow. And although I still struggle with my body confidence because you're never satisfied, I've still seen so much growth mentally and physically because it's a getaway. Some people have different getaways. Mine's a gym. Mine's hanging out with my friends. Other people, like we said earlier, you could read a book. You can go on a walk.
Yeah.
You can play video games. Although video games can be pretty bad because I got pretty bad rage. So
Yeah.
it really just tears down the mood sometimes. But you just have to find what makes you happy and what you need to grow and make it something good. Because like partying is something terrible. People who turn to like alcohol and vape and all that, that's terrible. Especially alcohol, because alcohol is a depressant.
Yep.
So I hear a lot of people say, like I said on the story, again, they're like, man, I'm just going to drink the pain away. That doesn't work. Alcoholism is such a brutal addiction and mental illness that you feel so great when you're drunk. Everything just feels numb. There's no pain in the world. And then you wake up and you're like, wow, I'm even more sad than I was
It's
before.
instant gratification. Everything that you do that gets rid of pain just for a little bit is instant gratification. But like when I think about just like what we went through, like what really started it, what really was a kickstart for my downfall with my mental health was COVID. COVID just it really like made me step back and realize that I wasn't okay. And like you said, like it's good to have like those wake up calls to realize that like, you're not always okay. And like COVID, like it was good and it was bad. Obviously, there's a lot of things that happened with COVID that were sad. You couldn't really see your friends, but not being around people was like a big like it was a big thing for me because then it made me realize like I don't really need people, man. Like when I went through when I was going through like a year ago, I was in a really rough spot. I was just unmotivated. I didn't want to be around people because like I didn't need them. That's what I felt like. I felt like I didn't need people to help me grow. And like it brings me to this this thought that I was thinking about the other day. Like you look at a goldfish, and a goldfish, you know, they're pretty small, you know, fish.
Yep.
And they're kept in this little fish tank, and they don't grow maybe more than a few inches, maybe max. Maybe.
Yeah. Three max, I'd say, probably.
They don't really grow that much. It's because like they're in a different environment. But look at a goldfish in the wild. It's just crazy. It blew my mind when I heard this was actually true. But like a goldfish can grow anywhere between 7 to 14 inches in the wild. And why is that? Why does it grow so much more in the wild compared to the fish tanks? Because of the environment that it's surrounded in. If you're surrounded in a terrible environment, not healthy at all, bad friend group, you know, bad people to encourage you along the way, you're not gonna grow. You're just gonna be like a goldfish stuck in a tank, having nowhere to grow. But if you actually like get out of those things, like you can grow.
Sometimes you can't get out of that environment though. Like you gotta think about like people that are they're stuck in a foster home or something. They just have a bad environment. They get beat by their parents. They get raped. I mean, all these traumatizing things. Like, how would you cope with that? Like, how do you find yourself in a spot to grow? And in my personal opinion, you can't really grow at that point. You just have to maintain.
Maintain it, yeah. You know what's also sad about that? It becomes a norm to you sometimes. Like when you realize that you can't grow, it just becomes just normal. Like you just feel like, oh, whatever. Well, I'm just in this terrible condition, and this is just normal for me. And same thing with just being in your bed crying. Like for me, a year ago, I was in my bed probably every single night. I didn't tell anybody. I didn't care if anybody knew, because I didn't want them to know. And I'd be crying, and I would at the end of each time I cried, I was just like, whatever, man. This is just normal. Like, it just became so normal to me that like I didn't care anymore. I felt like giving up. But that's what's so sad. Is like so many people get to that point to where they want to give up with suicide, with using drugs, anything. They just give up.
Yeah.
And they don't.
What was the analogy you had on suicide?
Oh yeah.
Killing.
So there's this. I listened to this other podcast a few, maybe a week or so ago, and this person said, so many times we want to kill ourselves because the problem is trying to kill us. But if we recognize how to kill the problem, then it'll solve a lot. And I thought about that, and it blew me away because so many times we get stuck in a situation, we don't know how to get out of it, and it's just eating it away at us. It's killing us, and a lot of people just give up.
It's an easy option.
Back to instant gratification. It's instant gratification. But if you kill that problem and you recognize that there's a problem, it will change your outlook on so many things.
Right.
And sometimes that's hard to do it alone. And as a man, and men in general, they're looked at that help can be weakness sometimes. Some people view it as that.
Yeah.
And that's not the case at all. Society places that stigma on health and that it could be weak to reach out to other people for help. And that's sometimes what somebody needs, like another opinion, another outlook on that situation.
Yeah. Totally agree. I was in a relationship where, no bash to them, complete respect, but my problems were never more important than theirs.
Yeah.
That when I was struggling, I had to put my problems aside and help others. So I think that relationships play a big impact on your mental health if you're not in an environment where you feel like you can grow. Yeah. I want to know how you guys feel about relationships and mental health. How much hand in hand do you think they go together?
I just feel like if you're in a relationship, that person should be number one supporter.
Yeah.
If you're going through something, they should be able to talk to you. They should be able to understand what you're going through. Because at the end of the day, they're your number one fan. And if they're not, there's a problem there. You have to recognize that. And it's so hard because you fall... And we're not trying to talk about relationships. This is not what the show's about. But, it's all a part mental health. It's a part of life in general. But, you fall into this romance and this love. I just love this person so much.
I can't live without him.
I can't live without him. Oh, my goodness. But then when you just totally just ignore that you have a problem and that maybe they're not listening to you. Maybe they're not being your number one fan. Maybe that they're not there all the time to really hear what you have to say. But it's the total opposite, because if that person has a problem, you drop everything right away and you're like, I'm here for you. What do you need? What can I do? What can I do better? What can I change to make you feel better? And that's just that whole look on relationships is just terrible. It's just sad.
I feel like a lot of relationships, especially our age, people use relationships to fill a void in their heart and a piece of themselves, and they become almost reliant on their partner and expect them to fix a lot of their problems. And that can be a slippery slope, relying on other people and not trying to find the problem and solve it before you get in a relationship.
It's interesting that you said that, because you think about it, sometimes people want to be they just like the thought of being with someone. And I don't know if you guys ever felt like that, but like you just like the thought of being with someone. Like, oh, I just can't be alone.
Mm-hmm.
But when you go through like some spells in a relationship, like Tyler, I don't know if you ever felt like this with your relationship, your past relationship. Like you said, no bash to them, but like there were times that I'm sure you felt like maybe it's just better to be alone.
Yeah, I have that viewpoint on a lot of things, honestly. Like, when I'm hanging out with my friends and I feel like I'm not in the best environment, I'm like, I should be alone right now.
Yeah.
It's a lot of it is the people you're around, but a lot of it is just you telling yourself this. And a huge issue that I have and a lot of people have is when you get out of that relationship, you're like, wow, how can I be happy on my own? I just get out of a 2-year relationship. I get out of even a 4-month relationship.
Yeah.
They're your person. You're attached to them. They're your life. How do I be happy on my own? And a lot of people struggle with that. A lot of people will get out of like a long relationship that they were their person. They relied on them for everything. And they immediately jump back into one. Because others just can't be happier on their own. And that's going to bite you in the butt eventually.
Yeah.
Sometimes it bites you when you're 16. Sometimes it bites you when you're 40.
Yeah.
That's why you see 40-year-olds who just got divorced that are just hoeing around. They're going to bars. They're just finding ways to fill that void instead of actually just trying to cope on their own.
Yeah.
And it sucks.
So, if you don't mind me asking, Tyler, like, what... I know this might be a little too personal, but, like, what are things that you did to cope with when you came out of that relationship? Like, what did you do differently?
I began to do things that I felt like I couldn't do in a relationship. Like, I began to hang out with more people. I began to go out and do better things. I feel like I wasn't just attached to that relationship because it was completely my decision. But I would choose to hang out with them over my friends, even when I already had plans with them. I would always cancel. I would always choose to go take a nap with them rather than go and hang out with my friends, go get food, go do something fun. So, like, I feel like I really elevated my mental health when I decided, wow, I could be living a much happier life.
Right. Did you ever feel like maybe you felt a little bit misunderstood sometimes? Like, maybe, like, you would try to express how you felt, and then it would just turn back on you, like you were the problem?
Yeah, that happened way more than most people can imagine. In fact, that happens in a lot of things. It's really hard to get your point across with someone who may not understand. Because, like we said earlier, the happiest man on earth cannot talk to someone who's severely depressed and understand.
Yeah.
When someone isn't going through the same issues with you, it's hard. That's why I had to find people that struggled. Me and Wade, I feel like me and Wade have really like got along with a lot of situations because of just things that we've gone through, and learning the ways that he's coped with it has been huge for me, and I've learned to cope with it as well.
Right.
It's just finding that right person to like surround yourself with in that right environment and just grow on it.
You know, maybe even sometimes, like, you know, they might not understand you because they're not going through it. But a lot of times, people, they don't want to understand you because they don't care. And that's when you have to like realize, like, this is a negative influence in my life, and I got to get away from that. Because what I have to do of a person, like, it might sound selfish, it might be selfish. Who cares? Like, who cares if it's selfish?
At the end of the day, your mental health matters more than anything else.
Right.
Because you got to stay alive.
And if you feel like that person, or really anything in general, is playing a negative impact on your life, you need to get away from that. Because back to the goldfish example, you have to surround yourself around an environment that will help you grow in the long run. Because at the end of the day, it's your mental health, not everyone's mental health, trying to pry in on your brain, trying to control what you want to do, what you want to say. But you just have to recognize that and really just talk to someone. Like, find that one good friend to talk to. Like, back to what you said about us being on that truck bed that night. Like, we talked. We talked for a while about what we were going through. Because we found someone that was going through what we were going through.
Yeah.
And we realized that we weren't alone.
We talk about this, but we know, if you're listening, it is a lot easier to say than do.
Yeah.
Because it is so tough for me to open up to someone.
It really is, yeah. It's for me
Especially jumping into a relationship or meeting someone new. Like, I feel like I can't just meet someone a week ago and then already talk about how I feel mentally. And if I do, then I seriously trust you, and I hope you don't break it, obviously.
But you know what's funny? You said that, like, you know, sometimes it's just hard to open up. But, like, people will, like, slide up on my stories or, like, my Snapchat, like, are you okay? Are you okay? And I might even post anything sad. It might just be, like, a picture of me, and I just look like I'm a little sad. Like, you know, and I don't really post pictures of me. But, like, it's just, like, they might think that you have a little bit of an issue. And you'll be like, oh, yeah, I'm fine. But in the back of your mind, you're like, no, I'm not fine. I'm actually, like, I'm really hurting. I'm really struggling with what I'm going through. But it's because you've got into this cycle of things to where you are so emotionally, you're unattached, and you're giving up, and you just feel like, look, nobody cares. They might think they care. They might try to ask what's wrong. But I just know at the end of the day, if I open up to that person, they're going to bite me in the butt.
Well, I want to jump back over to suicide.
Yeah.
On this because, sorry, COVID. One thing that a lot of people who are struggling, like, with suicidal thoughts, they think no one cares. That I've had multiple people tell me that we're suicidal, and, like, I was trying to, like, talk them out of it. They're like, not a single person cares about me. Like, I try to reassure them when people do, but they just battle it. They're like, no one cares. You can tell me this all you want, but I know deep down, not a single person cares about me.
Sad.
And then they take their life, and you see how bad it just hurts the community. Like, I hate bringing up the example, but the girl from Borden that committed suicide. How bad she damaged her community. I see people post about her once a month about how much they miss her. And once a year, they always do, like, a celebration of her life. People always talk about how selfish suicide is. And, you know, honestly, I find it selfish, but I also understand.
Yeah.
When you're that deep mentally, like just that mentally ill, it is so hard for you not to make that decision. It's so hard for you to not kill your battles instead of killing yourself, because at that point, we all want the easy option. We want something that would just take away that pain, and a lot of people just make that decision.
And that easy option is anything like alcohol, drugs, anything that gives you instant relief from that pain. And that's never the option of how to grow. You have to put in work. You have to trust the process and take the hard way down to actually solve your problems.
And it goes back to just what we said earlier, like taking baby steps. It doesn't have to be big steps. Nobody became successful in their life by taking huge steps. Mm-hmm. Like with anything, it could be a sport, with a relationship. If you take baby steps, you're going to succeed.
Yep.
Because if you rush things and you try to just, fire the gun right on it, then it's not going to work out. It's just going to fall to the ground, just like everything else.
Yeah, like we talked about Elon Musk earlier. How many times has he failed? So many. He almost went bankrupt, right?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And now he's the richest person or second. I don't. They go hand in hand with each other.
Yeah.
But it's crazy how much that man has failed, and he still had that mindset to grow. Because I'm sure at times he just wanted to just give up. But that voice in the back of your head telling you to keep going, that's what makes you a stronger person, and that's what makes you successful. Coach Hill was talking to us today, which is our basketball coach. He's like, the most successful people in the world, they're not the smartest.
Yeah.
They're the people that just want it the most. They're the ones that are willing to work no matter how they feel mentally, no matter how bad it hurts. That they're just willing to continue to grow and improve themselves. And that's so important, because 90% of people just want to give up. Can't be an option.
Yeah, and at the end of the day, it brings you to self-value. We just want to end on these last two topics, self-value and faith, before we end this podcast. But, like, your self-value is so important. So many people have a different way of how they view their self-worth or their value. So, like you said, you have different ways to cope. You have different ways to, be happy. But you also have different ways to, have self-value. But you have to find those ways. You have to find your ways to be happy. So for me, like, my faith is a big thing with my self-value. Like, I value myself, my faith so much that it impacts, like, just who I am as a person, So, like, I would say I'm religious. I have some religious backgrounds, and, But when I was going through things, like, I prayed so much, like, all the time, like, God, I need your help. I need you to hear me. But sometimes I felt like, oh my goodness, like, God, you're not hearing me right now. Are you just leaving me alone through this? Like, are you just like, you're just not there? I feel like, Have you ever felt like that, Tyler? Just
Yeah, I feel like that. I feel like that a lot, especially when I was struggling. But at the same time, everything that made me grow was based off of God's work. Like, I feel like I was in situations where I just prayed out to God, and some nights I feel like He'd ignore me, but He gave me a lot of answers.
yeah, yeah,
There's multiple situations where I was like, God, I need a sign. Please just give me one. Like, I just need you to talk to me, and I need you to make an act of just something. I need something. And He answered. He answered in ways. I wouldn't say I'm the most religious. I don't go to church very often. I'm not that guy. But I 100% believe in God's work, and I have all my faith towards Him.
yeah. And I was just thinking about, like, sometimes God, He'll like bring you through things just to see how you react. Because at the end of the day, like we said earlier, like, when you go through things, it's how you react is who you really are. And I was just when I was going through my problems, dude, I was just like, like, why do I feel so alone? Like, why do I feel like this? But it was just God showing me that through everything, I need Him. Like, I need Him. It could just be a simple prayer and just feeling that He was there, but I need to depend on Him. That way I can get through what I was going through.
And God's plan is bigger than we can ever even think of. Like, we would not be all sitting here making this podcast if we didn't go through some kind of mental struggle.
Right.
And that this could reach people that need it.
Yeah, and you don't if you're not religious, if you're listening and you're not really religious, like, that's okay. But, like, if you really need help, we're here. We just want you guys to know. That's the whole theme of this podcast is, like, we're here. We're here for you guys. And,
Yeah. If we're trying to talk to you, if, like, you reach out and you look at us for help, and we bring up faith, and you're not comfortable about the faith and us telling you to turn to God, tell us. Because we would never put our religion on you all. Because, if anything, that's going to bring you down even more. Because we're going to bash you for not believing in God and telling you that you're going to go to hell.
Yeah.
Like, that is no way to help you.
We also want you guys to know that, like, if you guys do reach out to us and we might not have the answer, like, don't get discouraged. Like, we're young, we're learning still. Like we'll do the best we can, but we can recommend you to someone. We can ask someone else what advice they can take. But other than that, we just want you guys to know that you guys have someone in this. We're all going through this, similar battles, not all the same, not just in different ways. Maybe it's the same way, just differently. But that's all the time we have for today's first episode, and we are excited. We are excited for the future. We don't know what's the future holds. We don't know what anything holds, really. Just in country, you can see in the country with COVID, just in general. But we're excited. We're pumped. If you guys need to reach out to us, you guys can find us on Instagram at _riseabovepodcast _ And we have a GoFundMe in the bio and the link, and you guys can go there, support to the podcast. This will help with just equipment costs. Equipment's not cheap. It is very expensive. But also, a portion of that will go towards a foundation for mental health, and we'll be raising awareness for that. And also, we might, in the future, I'll let Tyler talk about this a little bit more, have some merch. So, Tyler, you can hit on that.
We really plan on making merch that people want to wear. Because I feel like a lot of times people make stuff for, like, foundations and all that, and it sucks.
Yeah.
So we will make some daily attire that we would enjoy wearing, and we'd hope you'd enjoy wearing. And we're not sure what % of the profits yet, but it'll be a high margin of the profits we make. All of that will be donated to a foundation. And we haven't exactly went into full detail on what foundation we're going to choose. It may end up being multiple. But
if you guys have recommendations, let us know.
Yeah.
Let us know.
And please be patient with us. This is our first time doing this. We promise we will get better at it. And the future is looking bright. We got some guests that want to come on that have some really great stories that I think everybody will be able to relate with.
Yeah, and if you have guests, if you want to come on, if you're listening and you want to come on and you feel like you have a story that can reach other people, just let us know. Shoot us a DM on Instagram or send us a text message, and we'll try to get you on there. But you can also find us on Twitter at RiseAboveCast, and we'll have some updates on there as well. But other than that, we just want to say thank you. We hope you enjoyed this first episode of The Person in My Head, and we look forward to hearing from you guys in the future. Thank you.
Love you guys.
Love y'all.
Bye.